Ceremony in Colorado Springs honored fallen San Antonio firefighter Scott Deem, who was killed after battling a massive fire last year. Eyewitness News reporter Leah Durain was there and shares some of those moments from that emotional ceremony.
May 18th, 2017, Scott Deem would take his last breath, charging through a fire at a shopping center, searching for people in need of rescue. His sacrifice will not be forgotten. His family will not be left behind.
Scott P. Deem, Local 624.
With the majesty of Pikes Peak and a monument honoring thousands of heroes standing before them, Dakota and Tyler Deem were presented with a flag as a tribute to their dad. Lieutenant Justin Cifuentes, a firefighter who worked at Station 35 like their father, offering words of comfort and a respectful salute.
The thing that was probably the most prominent memory for me was to have the Deem children here, to have Dakota and Tyler here to celebrate the memory of their father. But for the main thing for us and for the citizens of San Antonio to understand that we can never lose another firefighter the way we lost Scott, and we do everything in the future in his memory.
Scotty was one of us, great family man, great firefighter. He's going to be missed.
Scott Deem's memory will last forever. His name etched into the granite walls alongside his fallen brothers. In Colorado Springs, Leah Durain, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.